Tonight, somewhere below the surface of the ocean, something is moving through total darkness. You will never see it. No one has. That's not because it's hiding from you. It's because you have no way of getting there. Right now, less than 5% of the ocean has ever been explored. You have better maps of Mars than you do of your own planet's seafloor. Doesn't that feel wrong? You can pull up satellite images of your neighbor's backyard in seconds. You can zoom into the moon, 250,000 miles away, and count craters. But the deep ocean, the largest habitat on Earth, remains almost completely unmapped. Scientists call this gap the discovery curve, and it hasn't slowed down. Every expedition still finds something new. Why has humanity conquered space before it conquered the bottom of its own oceans? The answer starts with pressure. At the Mariana Trench, the pressure is over 1,000 times what you feel at sea level, the equivalent of 50 jumbo jets stacked on your body. Human tissue cannot survive that. Every submersible has to be built like a bomb in reverse, engineered to hold everything out instead of in. One flaw in the metal, and the ocean crushes it instantly. So you build machines instead. But even those have limits. Sunlight stops penetrating water at around 1,000 meters. Below that line, there is no light at all, ever. Marine biologist Dr. Edith Witter has spent decades studying this darkness, and her research suggests something unsettling. Most creatures living down there don't need eyes shaped like yours, because in that world, sight isn't about watching. It's about producing your own light to survive. You've probably seen the anglerfish, the one with a glowing lure dangling in front of its mouth. That's real, but it's only the surface of something stranger. Witter's work suggests the majority of deep-sea creatures produce their own light in some form. Down there, light is currency. It's a weapon. It's camouflage. Some creatures flash light to blind a predator for half a second, just long enough to escape. If less than 5% of the ocean has been explored, what do you think lives in the other 95? You don't know. Nobody does. And that gap is exactly why the ocean became the birthplace of humanity's oldest myths. Norse legends describe a creature large enough to be mistaken for an island. For centuries, that was dismissed as superstition. Then, in the 2000s, scientists captured footage of real giant squid in their natural habitat for the first time. Animals over 40 feet long with the largest eyes in the animal kingdom. The myth didn't invent the monster. The monster was just waiting to be filmed. Mermaids may have started as sightings of manatees, glimpsed through fog from a rocking ship. Sea serpents may have been oarfish, a species that can grow over 30 feet and is rarely seen alive because it typically only surfaces when it is dying. Ancient sailors weren't lying. They were reporting real animals filtered through fear and distance. But some of what's down there still has no full explanation. In 1997, NOAA hydrophones picked up a sound from the Pacific so powerful it was detected 3,000 miles apart. Scientists nicknamed it the Bloop. For years, it was too strange to explain. Eventually, researchers attributed it to ice quakes cracking deep in Antarctica, almost certainly correct. But for years, one of the loudest sounds ever recorded in the ocean had no explanation at all. And it took that long just to rule out that it wasn't something alive. That's what the deep ocean does to certainty. It doesn't confirm your fears. It just leaves the door open long enough for your imagination to walk through it. The average depth of the ocean is about 3,700 meters. The deepest point, the Challenger Deep, is nearly 11,000 meters down. Drop Mount Everest into that trench, and its peak would still sit over a mile underwater. Oceanographer Dr. Sylvia Earle has spent her career trying to make people understand this scale. She points out that humanity has spent more time and money exploring outer space than its own deep oceans, despite the ocean regulating the climate you live in and producing most of the oxygen you breathe. The oxygen in your lungs right now, much of it didn't come from trees. It came from phytoplankton, microscopic organisms floating near the surface, converting sunlight into oxygen on a planetary scale, across an ecosystem you have almost no direct knowledge of. You are, quite literally, breathing the ocean every single day. And yet, you know less about where that oxygen originates than you do about the surface of a planet 50 million miles away. So why haven't we explored it? Not a lack of curiosity. Cost. A single deep-sea mission can cost tens of millions of dollars, with no instant headline like a photo beamed back from Mars. NOAA's own Office of Ocean Exploration has stated plainly that the ocean remains the least explored, most poorly understood biome on Earth, not because it isn't valuable, but because reaching it is one of the hardest engineering problems humanity has ever faced. Here's the twist that should really sit with you. Every time a new expedition goes down, even into areas scientists have already surveyed, they find species that have never been recorded before, not rare variations of something known. Entirely new species, cataloged for the first time in human history. Some estimates suggest over 2/3 of ocean species remain completely undiscovered. Not 2/3 of the deepest trenches. 2/3 of everything living in an ecosystem that covers more than 70% of your planet's surface. which means somewhere down there, right now, there could be an animal larger than anything in your biology textbook. Not a monster. Just an undiscovered species, existing in darkness, incompatible with your survival, completely unaware that a species on the surface has told stories about creatures like it for thousands of years. In 2012, a research team became the first to film a living giant squid in its natural habitat, something no one had managed in over 100 years of trying, despite decades of dedicated searching by multiple countries. It took a specially designed, nearly silent camera system because the animal could sense the vibration and light of ordinary equipment from a distance and simply vanish into the dark before anyone got close. The footage lasted only a few minutes. If a creature that large could avoid detection for a full century of active searching, ask yourself what else down there is doing exactly the same thing right now. The Mariana Trench isn't a single crack in the seafloor. It's a series of canyons stretching over 1,500 miles, longer than the distance across 5 American states laid end to end. Fewer people have stood at the bottom of the Challenger Deep than have walked on the surface of the moon. You know the names of the astronauts. Could you name even one person who reached the deepest place on Earth? That imbalance says something about human nature. You're drawn to what you can see. The moon hangs over your backyard, an invitation. The deep ocean offers none of that. It just sits beneath you, silent, pressing down on a darkness you'll never personally witness. Maybe that's exactly why the myths never died. When you don't have facts, you fill the gap with fear, and fear is older than science. Ancient Polynesian navigators told stories of guardians beneath the waves protecting sacred waters. Japanese folklore describes shark-like creatures said to drag sailors down with hooked fins. Even early cartographers, before satellite imagery existed, rode across unmapped ocean regions. Here be dragons. Not because they had evidence, because a blank space on a map felt more dangerous than a labeled one, even a wrong one. You do the same thing today, just with different words. You've replaced dragons with unexplained sonar contacts. You've replaced sea serpents with viral videos claiming to show something ancient rising from a trench. The instinct hasn't changed in 1,000 years. Only the vocabulary has. Some modern reports genuinely don't have full explanations yet, and scientists will tell you that directly. Not because something supernatural is down there, but because the deep ocean produces sounds and life so unfamiliar that even trained researchers need years of data before they can say with confidence what they encountered. Uncertainty isn't proof of monsters, but it is proof that your species still doesn't have this part of the planet figured out. So what does that mean for you, sitting here, thousands of miles from the nearest trench? It means the era of discovery isn't behind you. You were taught it ended centuries ago, but you live during the exact era when humanity is only beginning to understand where it actually lives. Not a distant planet, not deep space. Your own ocean floor, closer to you right now than the nearest major city, and still less known than the surface of Mars. You grew up thinking the age of discovery was over, that every mountain had been climbed, every coastline mapped, every species cataloged long ago by explorers who came before you. But the truth is stranger than that. You live on a planet where the majority of its largest habitat remains a blank page. Not explored, not disproven, just unknown. And maybe that's what unsettles you the most. Not the thought of a monster down there, but the quiet, simple fact that no one alive today actually knows what's really down there in the dark.